Okay, we're going to continue on in the Apocrypha. This is Apocrypha 1:38 through 51. Okay. A year later, Nebuchadnezzar sent and removed him to Babylon with the sacred dishes of the Lord, and appointed Zedekiah, king of Judah and Jerusalem, when Zedekiah was 21 years old. And he reigned 11 years, and he did what was wrong in the sight of the Lord, and disregarded the words that were spoken by Jeremiah the prophet from the mouth of the Lord. And although King Nebuchadnezzar had made him swear by the name of the Lord, he broke his oath and rebelled, and he hardened his neck and his heart, and transgressed the laws of the Lord, the God of Israel. And the leaders of the people and of the priests did many imperious acts, and surpassed all lawlessness under the unclean acts of all the heathen, and polluted the temple of the Lord that had been consecrated in Jerusalem. And the God of their forefathers sent by his messenger to call them back, for he would have spared them in his dwelling, but they mocked his messengers. And whenever the Lord spoke to them, they made sport of his prophets, until he grew angry with his people because of their ungodliness, and ordered the kings of the Chaldeans to be brought against them. These killed their young men with a sword around their holy temple. They did not spare youth or maiden, old man or child, for he delivered them all into their hands. And all the sacred dishes of the Lord, great and small, and the chest of the Lord, and the royal treasures that they took, and carried them off to Babylon. And they burned the house of the Lord, and tore down the walls of Jerusalem, and burned down their towers, and completely ruined all her glories. And those who survived the sword he removed to Babylon, and they were his servants, and those of his children, until the Persians began to reign, to fulfill what the Lord had said by the mouth of Jeremiah. Until the land enjoys its Sabbaths, all the time of her desolation, she shall keep the Sabbath until the lapse of 70 years. In the first year that Cyrus reigned over Persia, to fulfill what the Lord had said by the mouth of Jeremiah, the Lord stirred the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, and he made a proclamation through all his kingdom, and put it in writing, saying, Thus speaks Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord of Israel, the Lord Most High, has made me king of the world, and directed me to build him a house in Jerusalem in Judah. So if any one of you is of his people, his Lord be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem in Judah, and build the house of the Lord of Israel. He is the Lord who lives in Jerusalem, so let a man's neighbors who live in each place help him with gold and silver, with presents, with horses and cattle, besides the other things added as vows for the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. Then the heads of the families of the tribes of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin arose, and the priests and the Levites and all whose hearts the Lord had stirred up to go up to build the house in Jerusalem for the Lord. And their neighbors helped them with everything, with silver and gold, with horses and cattle, and a great many vows from many whose hearts were stirred. And King Cyrus brought out the sacred dishes of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried off from Jerusalem, and deposited in the temple of his idols. But Cyrus, the king of Persia, brought them out and delivered them to his treasurers, Mithridates, and they were turned over by him to Sheshbazzar, the governor of Judah. And this was the number of them: 1,000 gold cups, 1,000 silver cups, 29 silver censers, 30 gold bowls, 2,410 silver bowls, and 1,000 other dishes. So all the dishes, gold and silver, 5,469, were taken and carried back by Sheshbazzar, along with those who had been in captivity from Babylon to Jerusalem. But in the king of Persia, Bishlam, Mithridates, Tabeel, Rehum the recorder, and Shimshai the scribe, and the others associated with them, living in Samaria and other places, wrote him the following letter against those who lived in Judah and Jerusalem. To King Artaxerxes our Lord, your servants, Rehum the recorder, and Shimshai the scribe, and the other judges of the court in Cilicia and Phoenicia. Now be it known to our Lord the King that the Jews who have come up to us from where you have reached Jerusalem and are building that rebellious and wicked city and repairing its bazaars and walls and laying the foundations of a temple. Now if this city is rebuilt and its walls completed, they will not submit to paying tribute, but will even resist the kings. And since the matter of the temple is now underway, we think it's not right to neglect such a matter, but to address our Lord the King, so that if you approve, a search may be made in the records of your forefathers, for you will find in their chronicles what is written about them, and you will learn that this city is rebellious, troublesome to kings and towns, and the Jews were rebels and organizers of warfare in it from ancient times. That was why the city was laid waste. We now therefore inform you, Lord King, that if this city is rebuilt and its walls restored, you will no longer have a way to access Cilicia and Phoenicia. Then the king wrote in reply to Rehum the recorder and Shimshai the scribe and their associates who lived in Samaria, Syria, and Phoenicia as follows. I have read the letter which you have sent me. I accordingly ordered search to be made, and it was found that this city from ancient times used to rebel, used to rebel against the kings, and the people created revolts and wars in it, and that stern and powerful kings ruled in Jerusalem and took tribute from Cilicia and Phoenicia. Therefore I have now given orders to prevent these men from rebuilding the city and to take measures that nothing further be done, that these wicked undertakings go no further, to the annoyance of the kings. When the message of King Artaxerxes was read, Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their associates proceeded in haste to Jerusalem with horsemen and crowds of troops and began to hinder the builders. So the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem was suspended until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Now King Darius made a great banquet for all his subjects and all his domestics and all the nobles of Media and Persia and all the viceroys and provincial and district governors under his sway in the 127th provinces from India to Ethiopia. And they ate and they drank, and when they were satisfied, they went home. But Darius the king went to his bedroom and fell asleep, and then awoke. Then the 3 young men of his bodyguard who kept guard over the person of the king said to one another, let us each say what one thing is the strongest, and Darius the king will give rich presents and great honors to the one whose words seem the wisest, and have him dressed in purple, and drink from the gold plate, and sleep on a gold bed, and give him a chariot with gold bridles, and a linen headdress, and a necklace around his neck. Because of his wisdom, he shall sit next to Darius and be called Darius' kinsman. Then they each wrote his own answer and put his seal on it and put them under the pillow of King Darius and said, when the king wakes up, they will give him the writing, and the one